What is TaskRabbit? What up, YouTube? It's your boy Jermaine back with another video. In this video, I'm gonna talk about TaskRabbit. Now, if you follow my vlogs, you know that TaskRabbit is one of my favorite sharing economy platforms to work for, and I want to tell you guys why I love working for TaskRabbit so much. But first off, let me just talk about TaskRabbit for a little bit. If you've never heard of TaskRabbit, TaskRabbit is another Bay Area startup. They specialize in random jobs such as moving gigs, cleaning gigs, event staffing gigs, delivery jobs. There are so many jobs on TaskRabbit. I mean, I couldn't even sit here and read you all of them. I'm talking about there's over 80 jobs. There's pet sitting jobs, there's house sitting jobs, there's, installing a washing machine, just all sorts of random jobs. So that's why TaskRabbit is so awesome to work for. There's so many different jobs to choose from. I mean, accounting, tax work, the list goes on and on and on. I'll give you guys a few examples of some of my favorite gigs to work for on TaskRabbit. I really like delivery gigs on TaskRabbit because the jobs on TaskRabbit usually pay anywhere from $20 an hour to about $35 an hour. Now this is take home, and on a lot of delivery jobs it takes less than 1 hour to complete the delivery, meaning that I'm gonna get paid like 25 bucks an hour for this delivery, and on TaskRabbit the minimum is 1 hour. If it takes you 15 minutes to complete a job or a task, you still get paid for 1 hour. So that's a pretty good deal if you ask me. Now it's Monday and I see a TaskRabbit job pop up, and this job is to go pick up a bouquet of flowers and drop it off here. And I can sort of guess in my head, maybe that'll take an hour, maybe that'll take 20 minutes, but let's say I go pick up the flowers, go drop the flowers off, and it takes 30 minutes. That means I've just made $25 in 30 minutes. That's not bad. The problem with delivery jobs is usually you're only working for 1 hour. Now, other jobs I really like on TaskRabbit are moving jobs, or not necessarily moving jobs, but jobs found in the moving category. There's always tons of moving jobs online with TaskRabbit around moving season, and jobs vary. Some jobs you can make anywhere from 25 bucks an hour. Other jobs you can make like $39 an hour. It really depends on the price that the customer is willing to pay. Now, under the moving category, there's a whole bunch of moving jobs you can choose from. Moving stuff in a moving truck, heavy lifting, like moving things up and down steps, rearranging stuff, like just taking everything from this room and putting it into this room over here. Out of the moving gigs on TaskRabbit, my favorite ones are the organizing gigs. I really like those gigs. Those gigs last a lot longer than 1 hour, unlike delivery gigs, which usually last less than an hour, unless you're delivering something like really far away, but that's also very unlikely to happen. On moving gigs, people typically need you a little bit longer than an hour. Most moving jobs, maybe you're working for 3 to 6 hours, and 3 to 6 hours at $39 an hour or $35 an hour or even $32 an hour is not bad. Now, one reason why I really love the gigs on TaskRabbit is because you can make $25 to $30 to $35 an hour. And a lot of these gigs, you don't need a car. If you follow my vlogs on YouTube, you know I drive for Uber, I deliver for Caviar, I deliver for a lot of companies. But one thing about delivering food or delivering people, you need a car, okay? And cars have their own expenses. Myself, I mainly rent cars, so that's an expense I have every week. If I decide to drive for Uber or if I decide to deliver food in a car, I'm gonna have an extra expense of renting a car. On TaskRabbit, I can accept a moving job that pays $33 an hour that does not require a car, does not require gas, does not require insurance, parking, any of that. I can wake up, ride my bike to the job, and I don't need extra things like a car or gas, that sort of thing. And more importantly, the money I make is just more upfront, like it's more direct, like I know for sure how much I'm making. Of course, on Uber, there's these things called hourly guarantees where drivers can make $35 an hour. However, the difference between the $35 an hour guarantee that you would make on Uber versus making $35 an hour on TaskRabbit is, on a lot of TaskRabbit gigs, you don't need a car. So when they pay you $35 an hour, you are making $35 an hour. Also on TaskRabbit, the fees are already taking out of that $35 an hour. On Uber, on the other hand, they say, okay, we're going to give you $35 an hour. Yet Uber has to subtract all of their fees, and not only that, so now the driver has more expenses. Like the driver has his car, and now the driver has gas to put in his car. On TaskRabbit, a lot of jobs, you can just go out work without having any money up front. Now, all jobs on TaskRabbit are not that way. There are some shopping jobs on TaskRabbit where, a job may pop up and it may say go to Best Buy and pick up, 2 pairs of iPod headphones. Now, in that case, you, the tasker, would actually have to come up with the money out of your pocket. Now, iPod headphones at Best Buy are about $30 each, and the customer wants 2 pairs, so that means you need about $65 to go to Best Buy and purchase those headphones for the customer. Now, I know some people may not be down with doing this. Some people may say, look, I'm not going to put up my money for someone else that I don't know. For me, I totally don't mind doing that because I get a whole lot of SkyMile points and a lot of credit card points for purchasing things for customers, and I can use those points to travel the world free later on down the line. So in my case, I totally don't mind going to Best Buy and buying things for people. I know you guys are wondering, so how do you get paid from the customer? Well, when I go to Best Buy and purchase the iPod headphones for the customer, I go and deliver them to the customer. I take photos of the receipt through the TaskRabbit app. This is how TaskRabbit knows that I bought this item for the customer. And then once I deliver the item to the customer, I'm able to bill the customer through the app. So I would put down, I worked 1 hour. There's also another question in the app. Was there any extra expenses? And in this case, since I bought the customer iPod headphones, 2 pair at $60 plus tax around $65, I would include that in the expenses on the app. Now this way I'm able to get paid for the 1 hour I work for the customer and also the items that I bought for the customer. I feel that like moving gigs and delivery gigs are somewhat normal, but I've had some pretty unusual jobs on TaskRabbit. Once I had this job where someone was renting out their house for an Airbnb. They needed someone to go to the house and just change the bed sheets and put the linens in the washing machine and then obviously put them in the dryer when they're done. But yeah, that was basically my job, and it lasted for about 2 hours. It was really, really simple. It was really easy. Now that's the type of job where, if you're out of town and you don't have anyone to go to your Airbnb and change the sheets and change the linens, like who would do it for you? So TaskRabbit works great for situations like that. Another very unusual job I had, well, this one wasn't very unusual, but the pay was really high. The pay was $33 an hour. Gosh, I remember this day just like it was yesterday. I remember around 4 p.m. This was a Saturday, by the way. Around 4 p.m. it was pouring outside, and I was gonna go out and do deliveries on Caviar. And I checked the TaskRabbit app, and this TaskRabbit job had just popped up to dog sit in Oakland for like 5 hours, and the payout was like $33 an hour. And I thought to myself, that's like the perfect job ever. That's the perfect job ever. Number one, it's raining. I don't want to be out delivering food in the rain. Number two, I'm dog sitting, so I can like edit videos and watch YouTube videos at the same time. And number three, it's really close to my house, so I don't have to go all the way to the city, don't have to get on a train, don't have to take it was just really, really easy, really, really simple. Not all jobs are like that on TaskRabbit. The dog sitting job was by far one of my favorite jobs on TaskRabbit, but for the most part, I didn't really do much. A lot of people question me like, Jermaine, do you ever feel safe at some of these TaskRabbit gigs? Or, do you ever go to some sketchy areas? And I will have to say, for the most part, I feel very, very safe. Just because, mainly I'm doing stuff like in the city, and a lot of times it's like in the financial district. Like I may work for another tech company, or I may work for like a financial company, and usually like it's very professional. Now things can sort of get sketchy if you're going to people's houses. On TaskRabbit, I've been to a lot of people's houses, and me personally, I haven't had any like unusual things happen on TaskRabbit. I have had a few like rude customers, but at the same time, that's not like a sort of like a safety issue. Like once I was working for this one customer, and I better say this. A lot of people that use TaskRabbit are much more affluent. Like they have money to spend, and working in the city, a lot of the clients are just like, they can afford it. Like they don't really care that, TaskRabbit is billing them $50 an hour for someone to, pack up things in their kitchen. Like a lot of people just don't care. every now and then you will find that customer that, you know, is not balling like everyone else, and on some of those jobs it can be a little different. For example, I'll give you guys this example. I worked for this couple. I'm not going to say where, but it definitely was not in San Francisco, but I worked for this couple, and the lady was cool. I didn't really talk to the lady that much, but the guy was just like a jerk. Like, he was a complete jerk. Like, when I arrived, he was just like, okay, my wife's running late and such and such, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, your wife's running late. Because first impressions, everything. Like, right when I first arrived, this guy was like pissed off. He was ticked off. The task was to move stuff from one storage unit to another storage unit. It sounds really easy. However, those two storage units were not in the same location, so we had to go to one location, pack up everything into like the moving truck. Actually, they had two storage units at the first location. So we went to the first location. We went to the smaller storage unit, packed a few things up, or packed majority of the stuff up. The things that we left behind were things that we were gonna like throw out. And then we went over to the second storage unit at the first location. We packed more items, and then we left more stuff behind because, once again, the stuff we were gonna leave behind, we were gonna toss out. And then once we got everything in the truck, and that took quite a bit of time, we had to drive all the way over to the second location and unload everything. And this guy thought that this job would be completed in 2 hours. Okay, so he was all thinking, yeah, it's only 2 hours. I'm only gonna have to pay like $80 for this like a random guy to come help me like move stuff. And of course that job lasted like 4 hours, and the guy was so ticked off. He was so ticked off because he was just like, look, this wasn't supposed to last 4 hours. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, I don't know how long it's gonna last. Like, this is my first time showing up to this task. You're the customer. You're the one that, you know, wrote down in the description, oh, I need help moving a few small things from a storage unit to another storage unit. And then once I arrive, it's like completely different. It's like moving all of this stuff from one unit and also another unit in the same area. And we're gonna take all of that stuff and we're gonna put it over here. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that gig was over with. For the most part, that was just that one gig. And not all gigs are that way. Not all gigs are going to be 2 hours. A lot of gigs are going to be 1 hour to 2 hours. Most gigs won't be 8 hours. So once I did go to this 8-hour gig, and it just worked out in my favor. The pay was not very high. I think it was like $19 an hour. But it was for 8 hours of work. So I was pretty stoked on that one. I remember I accepted that job at like 8 a.m. Earlier, before I accepted that job, my plan for that day was just to rent Scoot and make deliveries on Scoot in the city. However, that plan completely changed once I saw this TaskRabbit gig pop up, because I was thinking, dude, I can just like sit indoors and chill indoors and make money indoors and not like run around the city. So that's exactly what I did. Accepted that gig, and that gig was like an organizing / mailing type gig. And let me just give you an idea of what I'm talking about with that one. This gig, they had boxes and boxes of t-shirts, boxes of like buttons, you know, buttons that you like stick on your shirt with the pin, and it may say something, it may say like a company's name or something like that. And they also had like name tags and like a few other accessories. The whole job was to organize everything and get all of this stuff ready to be mailed out. So they gave me like a list, and they said, okay, we want you to put like size medium shirts here. We want you to add some buttons here. It was just a really simple task for the most part. It took me all day. It took me like 8 hours. I had this incredible massive space to work in because it was a Friday, and I guess everybody in the office took off except for like 2 people. So it was a super easy job. Now the pay wasn't $35 an hour. It wasn't $25 an hour. It was only like $19 an hour. But in my eyes, that's okay. It was a simple task. When I got ready to go to lunch, I went to this Chinese restaurant across the street, and when I arrived back, the lady who had hired me for the gig, she said, oh, how much was your lunch? And I said, oh, it was like $12 or whatever. And she says, oh, make sure you expense that in the app so we can cover your lunch. So, you know, I was thinking, you know, I'm not making, you know, $35 an hour, $25 an hour, but at least I get free lunch. At least I get to hang out indoors. At least I get to hang out in here and talk to this super cute chick all day. I mean, there's nothing wrong with switching up your daily routine. Some days you do deliveries. Some days you deliver people. Some days you do random TaskRabbit jobs, and you get to hang out in some cool office with some super cute girls for a couple hours, and those super cute girls buy you lunch. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Something like that. Now, jobs on TaskRabbit are gonna vary big time. I mean, in your city, in your market, jobs may be completely different. Maybe in your city, people don't use TaskRabbit for movers. Maybe in your city, people actually call up a moving company. Just in the Bay Area, it's like tech mecca, and you know, people just want to use an app for everything. Like, they don't want to pick up the phone and call. They would rather download an app and put their credit card through the app and just do it that way. So I say all this to say, TaskRabbit is a really great app to work for. Like, I really like it. The jobs are very random. They're very spontaneous. Another thing I should say about TaskRabbit, there's two ways to accept jobs on TaskRabbit. The first way is instant dispatch. Now, instant dispatch is, okay, you're a customer, you're sitting at home, and you want someone to go to the mall and pick up something that's on hold for you. You can go to TaskRabbit.com and type in, you know, I need a delivery person to go to the mall and pick up something that I've already paid for. And you can do this at 3 p.m. You make your request at 3 p.m. and I see your request at 3:01. I accept your request. At 4 p.m. I start your request. By 4:30 I have the item delivered to you, and you know, we're done. You have your item, I've made the money, the transaction's complete. Now, that's one way you can make money on TaskRabbit and get tasks on TaskRabbit. The second way to get jobs on TaskRabbit, now I must admit this one took me a little bit longer to catch on to, is you can set your rates on TaskRabbit, and you can have customers contact you instead of you checking the app and seeing what instant requests are popping up. And I'll give you an example of how that works. Okay, you're the same customer, and this time you don't need someone to come to your house today. Let's say you want to schedule something for next week. So next week you would like to schedule someone to dog sit for 2 hours for you. So what do? You go to the TaskRabbit app and you type in dog sitter, or you go to the TaskRabbit app and you find dog sitters here. And when you click on dog sitter, you'll see all of these people who are qualified to dog sit. Now, what do I mean by qualified to dog sit? How do you get qualified to do anything on TaskRabbit? Well, how you get qualified to do anything on TaskRabbit is the qualification process on TaskRabbit works like this. Let's say I've already completed 20 deliveries on the platform. Well, when I go to my account to pick my rates, TaskRabbit is going to see that, Jermaine, you've already completed 20 deliveries. We recommend you raise your rate to this amount for deliveries. And if you haven't did a lot of jobs in that category, TaskRabbit will recommend that you keep your rates lower to attract customers to select you to complete their task. In some categories, my rates are set very, very low just because I have not completed enough tasks in that job category. On some other job categories, my rates are really high because I've completed a number of jobs in that category, such as moving jobs. On TaskRabbit now, my rates are around $50 to $60 an hour on moving jobs. When I first started, my rates were $35 an hour for moving jobs. Over time, the more jobs you complete on the TaskRabbit platform, the more you can raise your rate. Now, I bet a lot of you guys are wondering, well, if someone is online and they're looking for someone to help them move, why would they pay $65 an hour to have this person help them move versus paying $35 an hour to have this other person help move? It could be a number of reasons why customers would rather pay $65 an hour versus $35 an hour. Some clients just don't really care about money. Some clients would rather hire someone who charges more just because they think that this person is going to do a much better job. Other clients may not have as much income, and maybe they're looking to hire someone a little bit cheaper. Either way, it's going to help out people on the platform, because now this person that hasn't did this many tasks and they're only charging $35, well, that's one more task that they're going to get under their belt, under the platform. And we look at this other person over here that's charging $65. Well, when the customer hires this person for $65 an hour, well, TaskRabbit is making a little bit more money, and also the tasker is making a little bit more money. And the next question I bet you guys are wondering, so how does TaskRabbit make money? TaskRabbit makes money by charging a 30% commission. Now, let me talk about that for a second. Okay, let's say you work for a client the first time you've ever worked for a client. TaskRabbit is going to take 30%. Now, let's say the next day the same exact client likes you a lot, and that client is like, hey, I want to hire you and I want you to come back. Well, if you go back and work for that client the second time, TaskRabbit will only take 15%, because you've already worked for that client before. So TaskRabbit wants to pay you more because you've already made a positive experience with this client. That's why the client wants you to come back and do more work for them. So TaskRabbit rewards you. TaskRabbit also has programs called the Elite program. Once you join TaskRabbit Elite program, you only pay 20% commissions for first-time taskers. For example, if I'm a TaskRabbit Elite member, now I'm only paying 20% commission for new customers. So if this is my first time ever working for this customer, I'm only paying 20% commission. Now, if I work for that same customer the second time, then it's the same 15% rate. Are there any bonuses and incentives on TaskRabbit? For the most part, I haven't really seen many bonuses and incentives. About a year ago, I remember working Labor Day weekend, and they had this incentive going on. Every task that you complete, you would receive a $10 bonus. And back then, I was jumping up and down. I was all over TaskRabbit because back then I wasn't doing moving jobs. I was mainly doing delivery jobs. And like I said, delivery jobs are less than an hour long. So if the job is paying $25 an hour, and I get a $10 bonus, which is $35 an hour. And let's say that job only took me 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or let's say that job took an hour. That's not bad. That's $35 in 1 hour. And the commissions and fees, all of that stuff's taken out. It's not like driving for Uber and they say $35 an hour and it's not $35. It's more like $23 or $22 or I don't know. It really depends on your commission rate, and it really depends on whatever. So what are some of the highest paying jobs on TaskRabbit? Well, some of the highest paying jobs on TaskRabbit are jobs that you actually need skills for. Jobs such as plumbing jobs, electrical jobs, web development jobs. Nice. I'm so glad I've had the opportunity to share with you guys why I like TaskRabbit so much, and why, I don't know, why I'm always glued on TaskRabbit, and why I really want TaskRabbit to grow in the future, and why I wish that TaskRabbit is just the dominant app in the future. I really love TaskRabbit. But anyway, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and this is the first video you've seen from me, you should definitely see more videos from me because I am super awesome. I'm super rad. I'm super cool. You should hit that subscribe button right below so you can stay tuned. For you people out there that like daily vlogs, I make daily vlogs every day. That's another reason to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace.